everyone, and welcome to class. We have our instructors here today. My name is Tiffany Westridge Robertson. I am the CEO, original founder of AiArthritis. I'm also a person living with non-radiographic axial spondyloarthritis, and I was a college teacher for about 10 years. So I am super excited about being a teacher in this Knowledge is Empowerment classroom, which I'll tell you a little bit more about what this is. But first, I want you to meet the other teacher here, Ray. Hey, Ray.
Hi, Tiffany. My name is Ray Padnod. I'm a person living with psoriatic arthritis. I'm a patient advocate. I've worked with a number of different patient organizations in autoimmune space, oncology, arthritis, and I'm managing the Knowledge is Empowerment project here for AiArthritis, which has a public-facing classroom and a bunch of other great educational resources. So I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray. So what is this? We're going to tell you a little bit of an overview, then we're going to jump right into the lesson today, which is on non-medical switching. And we'll talk about what that is and why you should care and what you can do to get involved in making sure that this doesn't happen to you or anyone else. So the Knowledge is Empowerment classroom is a patient-led classroom with, as Ray said, all different kinds of experiences where you can learn from your peers about issues that are most important to you, especially around accessibility and affordability of your treatments. So the issues that we talk about are things that we know need to be changed or need to be addressed. And we try to explain it to you and offer you opportunities to get more involved to make sure that you can also help with that as well. In addition to the classroom, we have tied this into another really awesome project at AiArthritis called the AiArthritis Voices 360 Talk Show. And the talk show also led by patients. And so we thought it would be a really good idea because this classroom is going to have breakout discussions that we naturally will evolve into other conversations. That's what the AiArthritis Voices 360 Talk Show is all about. It's called a 360 It. So once we put an issue on the table during a class or other talk show or webinar, then we spin it out in a different conversation. So make sure you tune back in, sign up for this Knowledge is Empowerment classroom on our website so you can get notifications of all of the spin out conversations that happen from this as we combine it with this AiArthritis Voices 360 talk show. All right. We want to give a shout out to the sponsors of this project, and particularly for these public-facing education classes, which are Amgen, Genentech, AbbVie, and Bristol Myers Squibb as of 2024. And we are going to then jump right into just a little overview here. Sign up. If you, we'll give you a link to a glossary that we have on the main page. This is a vocabulary of words that we might be saying that you're like, sure what that means. And if you hear something that we said, write it down, let us know, submit it to us, and we can add it to the glossary. So that you can get on the website, but also, like we said, sign up, get more involved. You'll get notifications of new resources, new classes that come up, but also you can get notified of elevated experiences, which we do everything at AiArthritis has a learn and elevated experience. In this case, you can get behind the scenes classroom footage. You can get field trips. What? Field trips? Well, I'm just going to have to learn a little bit more about that by signing up because it sounds pretty cool, huh? It is. So you can also learn about sharing your stories, talking to legislators, government. There's so many things you can do by signing up. Why wouldn't you? So let's jump right into class. We're going to start off with non-medical switching. What is it? And then we're going to go into why you should care. We're going to teacher time talk. And then we're going to end up with some patient stories and an action plan. So I'm going to turn it over to Ray, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about non-medical switching. Take it away, Ray.
Absolutely. Well, the first thing we need to think about here, and we talk about switching medicines, is doctors will switch your medicine all the time, but they're doing it for a medical reason. And I'll give you a good example. You might have a side effect that you don't like. It might have worked for you in the past, but now it's not working as well as it used to. So I had a pill that I was taking called Otezla, and it worked great for me. And I liked it because I didn't need to have any kind of injections or infusions, and that was super convenient for me. And my skin looked great. My psoriasis had cleared. But it wasn't really helping my joints, and those still hurt. So the physician said, we discussed it, and they switched me to a biologic medicine that I had a choice of having the infusion IV or an injector. And I chose the injector because that's more convenient for me. And we talked about my medical history and my concerns. And that turned out to be a very good switch for me. And my skin was almost as good, and my joints were fantastic. So I was very happy to what we did there is we switched the method of distribution from a pill to a injector. And then we switched the mechanism of action, which is how the drug works within your body, from however the pill worked to how the injectable biologic worked. So that worked for me, and I got rid of my joint pain, my enthesitis, which is the inflammation in the Achilles tendon, which is very painful. And my skin looked about 90% as good as it did with Otezla.
Well, that's awesome. So that is a good example of there's different types of medication, the way that
Mhm.
they work, the way that they're applied, those types of things. And that matters because then when a situation called non-medical switching comes,
Mhm.
then even things like that method of action, the way that you're taking it could switch. We have a couple examples we're going to share with you in a bit about that. But non-medical switching, really, when it's switched by non-medical reasons,
So
right?
an example of this would be your insurance company. If you have a private insurance company, or this could, if you could be on government health care, and this is true in the U.S. or anywhere in the world, you know, that the health plan, whoever is administering it, will switch you to a different drug for some reason. Usually, this is a financial reason. Maybe it's lower cost to the health system. Maybe it's more profitable for the private company that's doing it. Then maybe they have just one reason for preferring one drug over another drug, or preferring a different mechanism of action, or changing your method of distribution. And again, typically this is financial benefit to the health plan and not medical benefit to you.
Correct. That's the big one. And I also have a bullet point that I added here in the middle that is just, I think, one of the things I'm most passionate about. So, this whole idea that insurance companies, government plans, people who are making these decisions, which we understand, they have a piece of the pie in their healthcare system money, and they're trying to save money to distribute to all people. Totally understand
Making
that.
effective use of limited
Yeah.
resources is
We
the real concern.
totally understand that. The issue comes when our diseases that are unique to the individual are assumed that there is something called a therapeutic alternative, meaning just because I have a disease, a diagnosis, that it can be treated with a TNF inhibitor, an IL-17, one of these types, that if there's another drug that targets that same thing, that you can just switch me because it has the same they're targeting the same thing, or I have the same diagnosis, and that is probably my biggest pet peeve. And it is something that tied to a coalition that AiArthritis leads, a national disease agnostic, meaning not just our diseases. And it is covering in the United States government drug affordability reviews, where one of the big issues that we're fighting against is they're sort of saying, hey, we're going to look at these drugs and it's okay for us to recommend one over the other because it is considered a therapeutic alternative, and that is just not okay. And that falls into non-medical switching. So a lot that we can do with non-medical switching.
Let me just add to that what you said there. The point here is that, you and I might have the same diagnosis. We are not, treatment plans are not one size fits all. They are not. And patients are all unique. Okay. We have unique medical histories. We have different ages. We have different comorbidities, which are other health considerations and diseases potentially. Treatment plans are not one size fits all. Every patient is a little different. All right. And there's no one size fits all treatment that some health plan can give that'll work for everybody. That's what the physicians are there to do, is to work with you, understand your history, try a little something. Maybe this doesn't work. Maybe this one works better. And when we have non-medical switching done by third parties and health plans for financial reasons, sometimes the patient gets left behind, and that's not always good for the health outcome.
Absolutely. And as you're looking through the class here, you're going to notice that as we go through these slides, there's screenshots of videos, and there is a QR code on these slides that lead you to our patient-led video library, where there are literally dozens of very short videos that also reiterate the lessons that we teach you in these classrooms. In this case, you'll find videos for non-medical switching. What is it? Why should I care? Things that we're talking about today. These are shareable videos, so you can share them with other people to help them learn as well. And then you're also, as we dive into this next part of the class, you're going to see we have patient stories. So one of the things that you can also do is see many patient stories that are submitted in the video library. And we're also going to teach you how you can submit your stories as well. So I think we covered most. Oh, there was one more.
There was a missing bullet
There was
there.
a missing bullet there. So we have talked about this many times in other classes too, but I think the term that we use a lot is called continuity of care. And we just really don't rock the boat, right?
Don't rock the boat.
For you is it we all know that our process of finding treatments is a trial and error process. It just that is. Hopefully one day it won't be that way. We are moving into what's called precision medicine or
Mhm.
finding ways to match patients to the right treatment without the trial and error. Wouldn't that be amazing? So that's another class that we have too on precision medicine you'll have to check out. In saying that, we just know, please don't disrupt our continuity of care, because when that happens, and I'll actually give you an example here of mine as we jump into the teacher talk here. So I'm going to just dive right in, if you don't mind, Ray, and I'll just say my non-medical switch story. And that gives an example of don't disrupt continuity of care. And then also when in my case, the insurance company says, you know what, we took your drug that in this case is an IL-17, meaning that's the target, the IL-17 that I was doing very well on. And I might say it took me a year and a half to find that drug because I was in a massive flare. My other one had failed after 6 years. So we finally found this right combination. I was on it for about a year and a half. And then I get this letter from my insurance company that basically said, well, we're going to switch you to a different IL-17 because it's also indicated for your non-radiographic
Mhm.
axial
Yeah.
spondyloarthritis. So why not? IL-17, your diagnosis shouldn't matter. You change because it's going to save us money. And we fought it, meaning my rheumatologist tried to say this is medically necessary for her to stay on because of all of these past issues. We fought it for a few months, ended up not winning. And in the interim, in that process of fighting for it, I ended up losing access for 3 to 4 months. And during that time, I developed a comorbidity called neuropathy. And to this day, I cannot feel the bottom of my feet. And so that is just an example of what can happen if you are switched. I did end up getting to be able to go back on my drug because the other one did not work for me. And it actually caused a huge softball size welt on my leg that lasted
Oh,
for almost a month. And I couldn't even wear my pants because it hurt so bad for the fabric to touch it. So those are just things that these people who are saying it's okay to do non-medical switching, they're not even, or if they are thinking about it, it doesn't matter to them, right? They're like, well, we're gonna roll the dice on you and see if this will work just as well. And I'm sorry, but do not gamble on my life. So that's my story on that. Ray, did you have any other examples? I know you had talked to Layla, and she did a
I talked to a lot of different patients, and some of them are sharing their stories here for this program, this educational program. And we've got a whole bunch of great patient stories for you. And Layla here at AiArthritis has a fantastic story. And here's the thing where she's kept on the same medication, but just the delivery mechanism, that's how it's administered, was changed. And as a result, she had a very bad experience. So she'll tell you all about that in that video.
Yeah. So that's just another example of, essentially she needed to be on an infusion and she was not allowed to, had to go to the injections, and it disrupted her continuity of care. She was miserable for months. And I know because she works for us, And for months, she was telling me she just had such bad brain fog. I mean, this is not only affecting people's health, it's affecting their ability to work,
Mhm.
productive members of society. This is much bigger. And this is why it's important. And as we say here on this slide, we cannot express enough. Nothing replaces lived experience. The more patients speak out on their experience, the more we hear from you, the more we can change these types of things that we just feel are very, very, very unfair.
I
And
will point out the writ of why she was switched here was they did not want the insurance company did not want to pay the administrative fee for the infusion, which is what she needed, medically needed. They said, well, the injector, it's the same, right? All the patients are the same. All the IL-17 inhibitors are the same. Everybody's the same. It's the same drug, right? No problems. Well, that's just not reality.
correct. Absolutely. So there are different things that we're trying to do here. Ray, before we tell them how to submit their stories, can you tell us a little bit about what's happening, and particularly in the United States, where they could get involved and possibly help us change some of these policies?
Well, there's a lot of legislation going on, typically at the U.S. state level. Bills are coming up in different states, and a lot of the physicians really are leading on this. There's one organization I'd like to single out called the Coalition of State Rheumatology Organizations, CSRO. They are acutely aware of, because the first the cases where this happens a lot are in our AI arthritis diseases. And this is a leading physician organization that is very outspoken. If you go to their website, which I think is csro.info, they have a legislation tracker that you can find, and we'll put this in the show notes, where you can see your state, what non-medical switching legislation is out there. And they are trying to just put limits on it. When can this be done? How can it be done? If it can be done, and in a way that is respectful of the physician-patient relationship and respectful of patients getting the medicines they actually need.
Absolutely. And we will do that. And then if you're living anywhere else in the world, this might not be called non-medical switching, or you may not hear that phrase, but you may say, hey, wait a minute, this is kind of happening to me. So, we are an international
Yep.
organization and we want to help everybody around the world to gain access. So we are encouraging you, no matter where you live, is please submit your story. You can go to aarthritis.org/rant. And there you can be anonymous. You can submit your name. You can check a box to say, I would love for a patient to respond to me, talk more about this. You can check a box saying, hey, I'd love to submit a video too for your video library. But either way, your story matters. And so we really want to encourage everybody to share their story if non-medical switching has happened to you. But before we go, we have to do a quiz, because what a class without a quiz. It's okay though. It's an easy quiz, I promise. So 3 questions. These are yes or no. First question. I feel I could briefly say what non-medical switching is. If you answered yes, give yourself a ding check mark. The second one, I feel I can provide at least one example of why non-medical switching is not good for me. If you can say yes to that, ding, you get another one right. And then last but not least, and probably the most novel part, the most innovative part of this, is we're hoping by teaching you more about this that you can recognize if you hear your friends or family or others ranting or complaining about this happening to them, because we need their stories too. So if you hear them telling a story, send them over to us as well, because we need to hear their story. And even if it isn't in our disease area, that's okay. Send them over anyway, because I did mention we also cover a disease agnostic, which is all diseases, coalition that is addressing this in a different area in these government drug affordability reviews. So if they're ranting, send them over. We'll collect everybody's story. And again, that's at aarthritis.org/rant. So I hope you did well on your pop quiz. But just remember, signing up for this program is the best way that you're going to get connected to as many resources and opportunities as possible. We have these field trips. Those are pictures of me behind the scenes. One of those is at the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Another one is at a conference with someone, Ann Hyde, shout out from the Arthritis Foundation. So when we go and learn, you learn behind the scenes. So we have all kinds of ways that you can get involved, including connecting you to legislators or governments to share your stories. So why wouldn't you sign up? It's an amazing way to meet fellow patients just like yourself and learn from fellow patients as well. That's a wrap for our class on non-medical switching, but tune in because, like I said in the beginning, this is a bridge with our AiArthritis Voices 360 talk show, which means any topic we talked about today, we're going to spin off into more conversations, including patient stories. So you'll have to subscribe to make sure that you get all of the access to those classes. Ray, thank you for co-leading and teaching today.
It was a pleasure.
All right. So that is a wrap. And we will be calling it a day. I guess class is dismissed.